All right, it's everybody's favorite, or at least it's mine. It's converting the ingredients to the largest measurable quantity, or LMQ, as I like to put on my assignments. So for the first problem here, we have 94 ounces of chicken, and I want to know how many pounds and ounces that is equal to. So what I can do is take that 94 total ounces and divide it by 16 ounces that's in a pound. Every pound is 16 ounces. 94 divided by 16 gives me 5.875 pounds. So in class, I would tell you, put a box around that first number. Can 5 pounds be bigger? No, 5 pounds can't be bigger. 5 pounds is simply 5 pounds. So you're going to circle a decimal point because it is that important and multiply by the number of ounces in your unit of measure. So 0.875 times 16 ounces per pound equals 14 ounces. 0.875 times 16 ounces per pound equals 14 ounces. So the final answer and largest measurable quantity is 5 pounds, 14 ounces. And we are in pounds and ounces, so we are only in pounds and ounces. Pounds and ounces, done. For the next one, I have 576 fluid ounces of water. Now, my largest vessel that water can get put into is a gallon. And I can see here by 576 fluid ounces that I at least have 1 gallon. So I'm going to take the 576 and divide it by the 128 ounces per gallon, and that will give me 4.5 gallons. My final answer, largest measurable quantity, would be 4 gallons, 2 quarts, or 4 gallons and 1/2 gallon. Ah, all right, hang on. Okay, here. So if I have 54 ounces of chocolate and I want to know how many pounds and ounces that is, I'm going to take my 54 ounces and I'm going to divide it by 16 ounces per pound. That will give me 3.375 pounds. I look at the first number, I put a box around it, and I say 3 pounds can't be larger. I'm then going to circle the decimal point because it is that important and multiply by the number of ounces in my unit of measure. So 0.375 times 16 ounces per pound equals 6 ounces. My final answer is 3 pounds, 6 ounces. And because I'm in pounds and ounces, I'm done. Pounds and ounces, done. If I have 87 eggs and I want to know how many dozen and how many individual eggs are there, I'm going to take 87 and divide it by 12 eggs per dozen, and that will give me 7.25 dozen. Now, same thing happens here. I can take that 0.25, circle the decimal point because it's that important, and multiply by the number of ounces in my unit of measure, but instead I would be multiplying by the number of items in my unit of measure, right? So I can take that 0.25 and multiply it by 12 and get 3 eggs. Or I can take 7 times 12, 7 dozen times 12 and get 84, and then subtract 87, subtracting 84, which would give me 3 individual eggs remaining. So either way works for me, and I hope it also works for you. The next one. Oh, there we go. All right, if I have 2.89 gallons in volume measure, can 2 be bigger? No, 2 gallons can't be bigger. So I'm going to circle the decimal point because it is that important and multiply by the number of ounces in my unit of measure. I take that 0.89 and multiply it by 128 ounces per gallon, and that will give me 113.92 ounces. So I can subtract out of that. I know that it's not as big as a gallon, so this is going to be relatively easy for me. My 3 quarts is equal to 96 ounces. I'm then left with 17.92 ounces, of which I can take out 1 pint. So my final answer for 2.89 gallons is 2 gallons, 3 quarts, 1 pint, and 1.92 ounces. Finally, if I have 75.47 pints in volume measure, I look at that first number and I say, wait a second, can 75 pints be bigger? Yes. There's 8 pints in a gallon, so I can divide 75 divided by 8, and that'll give me 9.375 gallons. So I have to take that 0.375 and multiply it by 128 ounces per gallon. I'm going to circle the decimal point because it's that important, and multiply by the number of ounces in my unit of measure. When I take 0.375 and I multiply it by 128 ounces per gallon, I end up with 48 ounces. Is that good enough for me? No. 48 ounces can be broken down to 1 quart and 1 pint. But my original problem was 75.47 pints. So now I have to take that 0.47 pints, multiply it by 16 ounces per pint, and I get a final answer of 7.52 ounces. So my total answer for largest measurable quantity of 75.47 pints is 9 gallons, 1 quart, 1 pint, 7.52 ounces. But wait, there's more. Same exact problem. So if I wanted to, I could take the entire problem, all 75.47 pints of it, and multiply 75.47 by 16 ounces per pint. When I do that, I end up with 1,207.52 total ounces. If I take that number, my total ounces, and divide it by my gallon, 128 ounces, I end up with 9.43375 gallons. I need to circle the decimal point because it's that important, and multiply by the number of ounces in my unit of measure. So I take that 0.43375, I multiply it by 128 ounces per gallon, and I get 55.52 ounces. From that, I can make 1 quart, so I subtract out my quart. I'm left with 23.52 ounces. I'm going to subtract out my pint, so minus 16, and my answer is the same, 9 gallons, 1 quart, 1 pint, 7.52 ounces. So same problem, 2 ways, same answer. I hope this helps.